action has been going on in the especially FX and futures markets this morning and in the crypto market. So we'll have a look at that. But just remember, this is an educational video only. There's no advice or recommendation intended whatsoever in doing this video. We'll start with Apple today, because what happened Friday was quite interesting and telling of what's going on. Massive bearish candle, market opened at 247.19, and that was the high price of the day. Never got higher, so sellers took control right at the beginning and just sold out throughout the session. That is a massive signal to send to the market that they were not, they were not happy with earnings coming out. So that was really something that said, well, okay, yeah, there was some trying to lift it from the beginning, but sellers took control, sold out through the session, and RSI also got rejected here at 60 threshold. It was probably up there around that level at the open, but closed below, and still in a negative sentiment. I think we'll see it selling off further in the coming week. On the in the US markets, well, S&P closed about 0.5% lower, a little bit of a bearish engulfing there. Still in a bullish trend, but I would like to see it taking out the previous peak there. But what's happening in the pre-market is maybe more interesting. Here we have the US 500 CFD / future. So what we can see, it's actually opening it's trading around 1.8% at lower this morning here. RSI is still in positive sentiment, but could, if it closes below the 5,900 level and below the cloud, could move into negative sentiment, and could spell some trouble in the coming weeks for S&P 500. 100 moving average will give some support though, so let's see what's going on, and a lot of things could happen before market actually opens. Nasdaq more or less unchanged, a little bit lower, but what was key was that it failed to close this gap. It spiked above this gap up to 21,738, but closed below. That's a little bit sign of weakness, at least for now. And here pre-market, we can see we are down about good 2%. We are back below this falling trend line here, testing the cloud area. With if it closes below the cloud area, and if RSI closes below 40, well then maybe it could spell some trouble for Nasdaq, and that is of course all the tariff talk that is hurting the market, and especially the IT companies. Semiconductors will most likely be hard affected by this. Dow Jones, let's see if it did indeed do a bearish engulfing, market open higher, closed lower, but did it close below the open of the previous day? Let's see, open 44,548 and closed at 44,544. So yes, a bearish engulfing top and reversal pattern there. So we could see lower levels, and here pre-market we see about 1.5% lower also here, and could push lower in normalization. But let's see about that. A lot of things could happen. Before we will move on to the European markets, let's just have a look very quickly at Seng. That dipped lower this morning, but currently only down about 4.4%. So buyers came back in, lifting it. So not really much chaos going on there. And just quickly on the China A50. Well, China A50, yes, it was down about 2.3%. Here's the future. Maybe that will be hurt a little bit, but we were already in a downtrend there, been for a while, just resuming downtrend after being rejected at 155 moving average. Negative sentiment on the RSI, likely to push it lower. On the European market, well, we saw EUROSTOXX 50 a new all-time highs, but forming this doji-like pattern there. So that could spell some trouble if we get a negative candle today, and it is in the cards to say the least. Here we have the EU50 CFD that is already trading following the futures. The future has dropped to the 38.2 retracement at 5,118, and the previous resistance there now is support, testing it, dipping a little bit below. Let's see where the day will end. If it can stay above, maybe the coming days it can try to crawl back up again. There's no divergence on the RSI indicating we could see higher levels in the future, but it's still up in the air, too early to call. Here's the DAX. Well, also new all-time high Friday, 21,800. Very stretched. We talked about it Friday. It was a bit stretched, but there's still positive sentiment on the RSI. But here, pre-market, we are down about 1.6%, almost down to the 38.2 retracement, 20,975, where we have a little bit of a support, but it's not that strong. So let's see what's going on. If they're panicking amongst the traders this morning, that will be key. Or if they will start coming in and trying to lift the actual shares again. Sometimes it's hard to predict exactly what's happening because we had a little bit of warning. We were a little bit stressed, so we talked about Friday that we could see a correction, and apparently now it comes. Euro dollar, massive move lower Friday, but Friday and continued this morning, opening much lower, dipped below at the previous peak, spike down there at below 102. We actually went down to 101.35 level. Resumed down. So we all talked about it had resumed downtrend, so we shouldn't have been long. And looking at the weekly, since now we have a new month, a new week, well, spike lower, and we also talked about. I think we will see your dollar at par eventually. Maybe in a couple of weeks' time, we see RSI on the daily back below 40 threshold. If it stays below that, well, it will further confirm downtrend. Already negative sentiment on the weekly RSI, indicating likely lower levels. Cable, sterling dollar here. We have also, when it got rejected up there, and sell off this morning, likely to push lower. So what I will do, I will remove this one just to show you how I work with this. So I'll say, okay, this correction up there, and we are currently just around the 61.8 retracement, a dip to it at 122.61. Resuming downtrend also on the weekly, negative sentiment. All moving averages declining. The 100 is still weekly is still moving up a little bit, but we are in a downtrend and likely to push to 120 in coming weeks. It has been in the making for quite some time. Massive move in euro sterling, so that actually corrected a little bit more than expected. Massive move, as you can see here. I mean, spike up, spike down, and spike down to the lows from here in early January around New Year. Spike back up. So really a push there that has very volatile. That's how I will stay on the sideline if it was me. Testing the 40 threshold. So key will be in back above the cloud. Then we could bounce here in the coming weeks. But key support down here at 82.60 and 82.25. Not so much going on in dollar yen. I mean, it bounced already late last week from the 50%. Interestingly enough, I would have expected to go to the 61.8, but it stays above the cloud. Could resume uptrend if it breaks above and stays above 156.75. Expect uptrend to resume with a push towards 160 in the cards. We have, on the other hand, we have euro yen totally collapsed. It's more euro move than a yen move really. So euro yen below 159.80 support, which we talked about late last week. Dipped to the 786 retracement 158 area and bounced, and could bounce a little bit further. So key will be whether close below 159.80. Then there's a lower potential for lower levels on euro yen. You can see it's really below the 100 weekly moving average. Negative sentiment also on weekly, so could drop lower. It's a euro move more than anything. The Aussie yen, this is an Aussie move. dip below the 95.50 support area, currently just above, but we are in a bearish trend. Also here on the weekly, as we can see. So I think we'll see it push lower, and we are going to look at Aussie dollar in a minute, so we can see what's actually going on with the Aussie. It's really that Aussie move more than a yen move. And 189.55 still holding on for the sterling yen, but we are in a bearish trend. Negative sentiment on the RSI. I think we will test that 189.55 support area. And yes, Aussie yen was already turned around after failing to move above the 55 moving average and above 63.35 resistance. Testing now the falling trend line here, probably getting back into this channel like already dipping below. We dip below 60 level, and let's look at the weekly. We see what's going on. We are dipping lower, and there's potential lower to maybe we should just do this so we can see what's going on. We can move back down to the below 60 area here, so levels from around 2020. So really heavy on the Aussie dollar also. Dollar Canada jumped higher, opened much higher this morning, spiked to almost 148, trading at 147 at the moment. And here we can see it already surpassed the 2020 peak. 2020 peak here, and it's currently trading just about. Let's see if it closes this gap from this morning here. Well, then it could collapse, but it seems like we were going to push higher in the coming days and weeks. But be careful out there. It could be really really heavy to trade at the moment. Sterling Canada, you see open much higher, almost up to the previous peak here from December. But sellers back in control. I haven't added any Fibonacci level. What we can do if it's that the case, then I will do this and then say, okay, we could see a setback to this area where we have the 100 moving average, we have the 55 coming up, and the 38.2 at around 179.18. So it could dip down to that level there before bouncing. EURUSD, also massive sell-off this morning here, below the lower rising trend line, dipping down to just this spike down here at 93.37.35. Let's see, did we actually just be below it? Yeah, just a little bit. 93.37, yes, and then bounce. So if it does close above the rising trend line, then it could start turning around here in the coming days. If it closes below 93.35 and also below the cloud, that would be key. And RSI close below 40 threshold, then we are in a bearish trend. But for now, the bullish trend is intact. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, and if it can close back above the trend line here, then maybe it could crawl higher here in the coming days. But really uncertainty times with a lot of volatility. Dollar Swiss. Massive move here, also open around this level here, and then spiked to 90.25, and then buyers really came in and lifting it above 92, where we are trading just below 92 at the moment. RSI back above 60 threshold. There was warning about, because we Friday when tested the resistance here at 91.10 and 91.15. So it was already in the cards that we could push higher on dollar Swiss. If it takes out the low today, then I expect a massive sell-off, but I think we'll see it pushing higher towards 93 in the coming weeks. Dollar index already tested the resistance here at 108.40 Friday, and open much higher. I think we will see it taking out 110 level here. Possibly today you see RSI currently back above the 60 threshold. If it stays towards the end of the trading session, or at the end of the trading session, then we are likely to see higher levels on dollar index towards 111.25. Not massive move in gold, but nevertheless opening lower, trading lower here. We spiked to the 161.8 projection at 2,815, and that is projection of the latest correction there, which is quite normal that it will do that, and then we are setting back. I draw on this channel-like pattern here. If it takes out the lower rising trend line, we could see a correction down to 2,727, 2,730. In this, there's some fairly strong support in this area. We could also add a support line there just around 2730. So some strong support here. However, we do have a little bit of divergence here on the RSI. This value here is lower than here, but we had the market let's see, the market here was higher than here. We could be in for a correction, but I wouldn't be too worried if I'm long gold unless it takes out 2720 actually. In this area, there's very strong support, but a correction could be in the cards. Silver, massive move over the Friday, and this morning it closed above 31, so we are in a bullish trend, positive sentiment, now testing 31 again, spiking below. We have a confirmed bullish trend. It will be further confirmed if we can get back above the cloud area here and above the 32 level, but for now there's some weakness coming in. I wouldn't, still bullish trend until we take out 29.5. Copper sold off early. It actually did show some promising signs last week. Could turn around after correction, but now it spiked lower again to the 61 retracement at 418.25 and the 55 moving average and the cloud area. Still positive sentiment on the RSI. Let's see if it can crawl back above 425, then maybe it could start resuming uptrend. Energy market and WTI crude oil for now finding support here around 76, spiked a little bit lower Friday. Could turn around, excuse me. If it can move back above 78.25, then I think we could see a push up to around 80. We're still in positive sentiment on the RSI. Hasn't closed below 40 threshold, so that'll be key here the next couple of days. 55 100 moving average coming up, giving a little bit support. Brent crude oil, sorry, I switched the wrong one. I thought, yeah, there was something wrong with the prices. Anyway, WTI bounced from the 72 level, and if it takes out 75.30, well, then we can see a push higher towards 77.40. On the Dutch gas, Dutch TTF gas spiked higher in early session this morning, 54.80, and it's very close to the strong resistance area here. And let's see on the weekly, strong resistance area here around 55.25, 56.80, 56.79 to be exact. So maybe this is a top and reversal we will have, but we are still in positive sentiment, and let's keep an eye on what's happening throughout the day. Henry Hub starting to bounce after the massive sell-off, opening higher this morning after spiking just below the $3. I think we will see a bounce up to at least $3.50, maybe up to $3.80. Treasury yields, well, yeah, we have the US 10-year Treasury yields once again testing 450 support, still holding, spiked a little bit below, still holding on a close below. Well, then we could see look at 438, possibly down to around 4.25. And then we have this double, shoulder head shoulder pattern like unfolding. But if 10-year move back above 467, it is demolished, and we have an uptrend to resume. The 2-year, well, still 415, that is key. And if it can get back above 430, then we are back in the bullish trend. But for now, short-term bearish correction, 415 is a key spot. And moving on to the European yields, here we have the EU that that did lower Friday, continuing this morning here. It was actually bouncing strongly earlier last week, but turned around as we talked about. Friday it could do. Then 238 we could dip down to test this falling trend line and the 786 retracement. Also the UK 10-year interestingly testing the 55 moving average and the 452 support, could bounce from it. RSI is still in the positives and could bounce from 40 threshold. Let's see here, and I think it will be decisive next couple of days. And on to crypto and Bitcoin. Bitcoin getting closer to the 90,000 key support area. Dipped to this morning to dipped to the 178. Then have bounced a little bit, so still staying afloat here, but it is fragile. And Ethereum really got hammered this morning, spiked all the way. I mean, it already started there over the weekend, and this morning as it dipped lower and took out the support here at 2380, 2379, but bounced back. If it can get back above the 2800, maybe it can bounce even more. And let's just do Fibonacci to see, okay, we could maybe see it will bounce up to the 61.8 retracement at 29.45. But for now, that is the heaviest one. All right, this is a long one today. A lot of stuff going on in the market. I hope you have stayed with me so long. Have a nice day and be careful out there, and talk to you again soon.